Hello, welcome to this video. I'm Dustin from Software PLE team. In this video, I will show you how to use script in PLUS+1 Service Tool. Let me show you an example at the beginning of this video. In this example, we use a button to trigger a window. This window is designed like a website. There are three icons pointing to three different pages. In the scan page, basic hardware information is displayed in the form of cards. In ECU information page, detailed ECU information is displayed. You can switch ECUs in the footer to select the ECU you would like to display. In the parameter page, all the parameters and checkpoints are displayed. It is also possible to switch ECUs in the footer. It is a very simple example. Hope you can learn more about the possibilities of our Service Tool. Developing a script in Service Tool requires three languages: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML defines the content, CSS defines the style and layout, JavaScript defines the behavior. The first step to create a script in Service Tool is to create a new script interface and script functions files. These files are created by right-clicking on the script folder under the design folder and selecting New Script. Note that you need the ST-Pro license to access the design folder. After creating a script, two files are automatically generated on the script folder: script interface.p1u and script function.p1g. The p1u file uses HTML format. We can use HTML language to define the content of a page in this file. The p1g file uses JavaScript format. We can use JavaScript language in this file to define the behavior of a page. In the Help drop-down menu, you can find the Scripting Design menu. How to use script in Service Tool is explained in detail in this menu. The user menu also covers a number of existing API functions. All of the functions can be used in your script function file. For example, ShowUI generates a window in the Service Tool. GetParameter data is used to get the ECU parameter information. GetNode address is used to get the node address of a ECU. And readParameter is used to read the value of a parameter. Here is the first example. Right-click on the script folder and select a new script to create new script files. After creating the files, double-click to open the script interface file. You can open it with Notepad or install other software on your computer. Visual Studio Code is used in this video. After opening the p1u file, we can see that the meta information has been added to the header element of the HTML document, and two JavaScript files are associated, among which script function.p1g is the file we just created. Then we can design the content in this file. We define the body element of this page with a body tag. Define a heading and three paragraphs in the body element with the h2 tag and the p tag, and fill in some text. Remember to save the changes. Next step, we open the script function file. It can be found that there is a small example in this file. Service Tool can access JavaScript functions in the p1g file, but the functions need to be registered in the top of the p1g file, with a text like this, and followed by the name of the JavaScript function. We change the name to ShowHTML, and then we design this function to generate a window in the Service Tool. Here we use the API function UI ShowUI in the body of the function. The JavaScript language is case sensitive, so be careful when writing code. Let's take a look at the API function, which generates a window in the Service Tool and displays the content we define in the p1u file. The syntax of this function is that the name UI ShowUI followed by a pair of parentheses containing 5 arguments. The first is the caption of this window that is displayed in the upper left corner of this window. Next 2 parameters are the left and top position of the window. If these 2 parameters are 0, the window is displayed in the center of the Service Tool window. Last 2 parameters are the width and height of the window. Now that we know what this function does and the syntax, let's go back to the example. We define a function named showHTML in the P1G file, and in the body of this function, we call the API function UI_showUI. Then assign values to the file input parameters. Set the caption to scripting example. Set the left and top position to 0. Set the width to 1600 and height to 900. Then save the P1G file. Every time we make any changes, we should reload the files in the Service Tool. Right-click on the files we made changes. Select Reload. We add a button in the Service Tool Advanced page to trigger the JavaScript function we just defined. Drag the button component to the program area and double-click to open the Properties window. Find the Hyperlink option, click the Select button, and select the JavaScript functions we defined in the P1G file. Then exit the Edit window and click this button to open the window we defined. We will see the content we designed in P1U file. We can also display an image in this window, but local image files are not allowed, so we need to add the images to the resource folder. Right-click on the resource folder to select Add Resource File, then find the images files we need, and click on Open to add. In P1U file, we use img tag to add this image. For the source of this image, we write this address. And set the width of this image to 20% of the window width. After reloading the P1U file, we can click on the button to see what it looks like. We can see that the image we just added is displayed as expected. Let's look at the next example. In this example, we create a table in the P1U file. Style the table using CSS language and fill in the table with the issue information using JavaScript language in P1G file. Double-click to open the P1U file. In the body element of the HTML, we use the tag table to define a table. Here we give the table a class attribute, table style, which is used to set the style later. Use the tag thead to define the header section. Use the tag tr to define a row in the header. And use the tag th to define 2 cells. Fill in the content with item name and description. The body of the table is defined using the tag tBody. Use the tag tr to define 6 rows in the body, and use tag td to define 2 cells in each row. Because we are going to display the issue information in this table, the first column is used to display the item name of the issue information, and the second column is used to display the description of the issue information. The first row shows the application ID, so we give the first cell the content application ID, and we will use JavaScript to fill in the second cell later. Here we give the cell an ID for later reference. Then we set the following 5 rows in the same way. The IDs for the 6 cells are label information table from 0 to 5. After finishing this, we reload the P1U file and click on the button to see the result. Since we didn't start the table, the display in the window is very simple. We double-click to open the P1U file and start the table using CSS language. Use the class selector .TableStyle to point to the table. Set the border collapse to collapse and set the width to 6% of the window. Next line, we use group selector .TableStyleTD .TableStyleTH to point to the cells in the body and head sections, and set the border width to 1 pixel, border type to solid line, and background color to gray. Then use the class selector .TableStyleThead to point to the head section. Set the background color to dark gray. Use the selector .TableStyleTD to point to the cells in the border section. Set the top and bottom paddings to 2 pixels, right and left paddings to 8 pixels. Use selector .TableStyleTD first child to point to the first cell of every row in the body section. That is the first column in the table. Set the left padding to 30 pixels and set the width of the first column to 50% of the table. The following 2 selectors point to the odd and even rows in the body section, and different background colors are defined. Now we right-click to reload the P1U file again. Click on the button to see the result in the window. Now we use JavaScript language in the P1G file to fill the ECU information to the corresponding cells. Here we will use an API function called stGetNodeInformation. Let's take a look at the introduction of this function. This function is used to get the ECU information. It has 2 input parameters, address of the target node, and the data item to request. You can find the detail table in the scripting menu. There are 23 items in the table. In this example, the ECU information we want is application ID, node type, tool version, compile time, birth date, and part number 0. The item numbers for this information are 0, 3, 4, 6, 10, 11. And then we use the keyword function to define a function named getECU information. In the body of this function, we use getElementById to find the 6 elements with the IDs, node information from 0 to 5, and replace them with the ECU information we get with the API function getNodeInformation. Because the target is the MC24 controller on the CAN bus, and the address of the controller is 2, we set the first parameter of this API function address to 2, and set the second parameters to 0, 3, 4, 6, 10, and 11 to read the information, application ID, node type, tool version, compile time, birth date, and the part number 0. Then we add this function we just created in the body of the showHTML function to call it. Save and reload this P1G file, and click the button on the substitute page to see the result. As expected, the information we get with the script is displayed in the second column of the table. Now let's look at the third example. In this example, we will design a table and list all the parameters of the controller in this table. The number of the parameters is large and uncertain, and each parameter has 9 information, so we will use another way to display all this information. It can save a lot of work by writing HTML code in a loop in the P1G file and insert them in the P1U file. We create a new substitute project and add a new script. Double-click to open the P1U file. Use the tag drv to define a division and give it an ID name, parameter information data division. Later we will find this division by ID in the P1G file and replace the content. We will use two API functions in the P1G file, getParameterCount and getParameterData. The function getParameterCount gets the number of the parameters in the ECU. It has one input parameter, address, which is the address of the targeted ECU. The function getParameterData is used to get ECU parameters. The first input parameter is the address of the targeted ECU. The second parameter is the index of the targeted parameter. The third parameter is the data item to request. We can see from this picture that each parameter has 9 data items, corresponding to this item number from 0 to 8. If we want to get the name of the parameter, we can set the item to 0. If set to 1, then we got the data type of this parameter. Double-click to open the P1G file. Define a new function named getParameterInformation. Then we define two variables, table data and parameter count. Table data is an empty string, store what we want to insert to the HTML file. The variable parameter count is to store the number of parameters. Next line, we use the API function, getParameterCount, to get the number of the parameters of the controller. And then we set a new string to the variable table data. The content is what we want to insert to the HTML file. You can see it is the HTML code to define a table. Because the number of the parameters is large and each parameter has 9 data items, we use two for loops to add all the parameter information to the table. After loops, we add the close tag of table. Now we finish the HTML code we want to insert. We reload the two files, click on the button on the substitute page to see the result. We can see that all the parameters information is displayed in the table. Then we can style this table using CSS language. Double-click to open the P1U file and use the same CSS code as in the second example. Then reload the P1U file. Click on the button on the Service Tool page to see the result. We can see that the result is as expected. That's all for this video. For more information on PLUS+1 Software, please remember to visit our forum or Helpdesk. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to see our latest video release. Thank you for listening.